So it is a beautiful Monday and a perfect day to do a mock draft. So that's what we're going to do. Let's get into it.
You want Philly?
Yeah, let's do it.
What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and it is Philly the podcast. So today we're going to do another mock draft on this beautiful mock draft Monday. Now, before we get into that, be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, join the family. We are on the road to 5K. We are so close, I can taste it. So definitely help us out and join that ride. We are going to be doing a trade in this one, so definitely be ready for that one. I'm going to wait till the end to kind of show you the details of the trade, but we did move back from the number 10 spot. So we are picking at number 15, which is the Packers pick. So just be, pendiente when you're knowing that. Just realize that that's what's going to happen in this draft. Now, also, I want to give a big shout out to Carson Wentz. You are as trash as we all thought you were, but shout out to him. I just had to say that. But let's get into the first pick, man. All right, so all jokes aside, let's get into this mock draft, man. I got a couple notes on a couple different people. You're probably going to hate this draft. I'm going to be 100% honest, but I went ahead and did something that Eagles fans have been begging me to do in all these mock drafts. So we'll get to that. It obviously wasn't the first pick, but we are going to get to that. My first pick is Bryan Bresee out of Clemson, the defensive tackle. Now, look, there's a lot of pros. There's some cons to this guy. We'll start with the cons. Look, he definitely could add some weight. I think he's just over 300 pounds, about 305, something like that. Could definitely add some weight, add to that play strength. And his technique definitely can get a little bit more consistent. There's a lot of times that he's playing high padded, allows the offensive lineman to get into his chest a little bit too much. The main thing with him, honestly, I want to see him get more aggressive, but the main thing with Bryan Bresee is that ACL injury. A lot of people are wondering if he's going to be the same or, better, the same player that he was prior to that ACL injury. And the pros for him, I think that they're staggering, to be honest. I think if he is able to come back from this ACL injury and be 100% healthy, the Eagles could be getting a steal at number 15. Now, like I said, he has amazing agility and play strength for his size. He has the ability to move upfield or sit in a gap, like what Jordan Davis does, right? Sit in that gap, cause havoc, not let the running back have easy holes to find, right? Or he can be a pass rusher, kind of like a Javon Hargrave. So I like what this guy brings to you as far as his versatility. I believe he can play all four positions on the defensive line. If you want to set him out there as an edge, he can do that. He can get around the corner, has the speed to get around the edge. But also, I think that he is probably best at the defensive tackle spot, but he gives you that versatility, right? His lateral agility, I wrote this down, is just absolutely insane. I mean, he can cover two gaps because he can move so well, So that's something that I think people will get a little bit worried about that injury, and that's very, very fair. I'm going to say something that people probably might not agree with, and that's fine. I don't know if ACL injuries really scare me anymore. I think that, especially if it's like his was, it was pretty early in the season. He should be fully healthy once he comes to our team and everything. It really doesn't make me that worried. I know that people are going to bring up Sidney Jones. I know people are going to bring up, draft busts who got hurt late in their career, whatever it may be. I just am not that afraid. He's not going to have to redshirt a year because of the injury. It's not late in the season, right? You look at last year. I'm spacing on his name, but the guy that got injured in training camp, in the scouting combine, that's totally different. You're not able to play for the full year. You're missing a year. That makes you a little bit more of a risk, right? But with Bryan Bresee, you're going to be able to get him this year. So I like this. I think that this is a Howie Roseman type of guy, a Howie Roseman type of pick. You're building in the trenches, and I'm cool with that. This is the type of guy that I'm definitely cool with if you miss out on those top edge guys or if you miss out on those cornerbacks, which at 15, you might end up missing some of those cornerbacks, some of those edge guys. So I think that this is a very, very good consolation prize to the, sweepstakes that is Jalen Carter. I think he's the second best defensive tackle on this list, on this board. So I'm happy to get him at number 15. All right. So next we got I did it, y'all. I did it. I finally went out there and got a running back. Now, look, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, there's no way he drops to number 30. It's a possibility. It definitely is a possibility. And to go back to my interview with Daniel Jeremiah, he did say that 30 is probably the floor for Bijan Robinson. They think that, or he thinks, I should say, that the Eagles will either pick him at number 30 or they will trade out of that spot and let someone else pick Bijan Robinson. He feels that this is the floor for Bijan. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Texas running back at number 30. Okay, look, the pros, I didn't even want to really write down pros, because if you don't know who Bijan Robinson is, I don't know what you've been doing. I don't know where you've been. I don't know if you've been sleeping under a rock or what it is. But look, he's a great runner, really good receiver. I wouldn't say great. He's a very good receiver, though. He's willing to be a pass blocker. You know, he has a big body. He's 6 feet tall. I think he's just over 200 pounds, but he has great agility. He has that great suddenness to him, all right? But we're going to talk about the cons, because I want people to be well-rounded when they're talking about a guy. Now, Bijan Robinson does not have many, glaring holes as a player. He doesn't have huge weaknesses as a player, but there's definitely things that I think you look at the players that we've had on this roster and you might start saying, we've dealt with that. We've had to go through that. There's going to be some growing pains when it comes to Bijan Robinson. So the things that I put down here are that he doesn't have necessarily elite speed. He has very good speed, very, very good speed, not necessarily elite speed, and that's nitpicky. I will be honest with that. The next one is that he likes to dance in the backfield, and I'm not talking about America's next great dance group. What the hell? I don't even know what the name of that TV show was, but y'all know what I'm trying. America's Best Dance Group. There we go. And I don't mean it like that. I mean that sometimes he's indecisive as a runner. He gets caught up behind and wants to find the hole. Sometimes even kind of running himself into bad situations, right? And running into tackles or running into a place where he maybe thought it was a little bit more clear and it isn't, maybe relying a little bit too much on that athleticism, on that agility, when he needs to just kind of rely on that vision and follow his blockers. So that's something that I definitely want to see improved. But that's something I think a lot of young running backs struggle with in the league, right? Now, like I said, he is a very good receiver, especially for the running back position. But one thing I want to see him do is utilize his hands. Okay, way too many times when watching him, I see him just let the body catch, right? And look, most of the time you'll get away with that. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Sometimes you'll get away with that. But when you go against elite linebackers, when you go against elite cornerbacks, when you go against elite safeties, they are going to have the length. They are going to have the length to break it up if you allow it to come to your body. I want to see him utilize his hands a little bit more as a receiver. And I want to see him be a little bit more balanced through contact. But look, these are all realistically not huge weaknesses in his game, but definitely things I think that he's going to have to continue to improve upon throughout his career. But look, let's look at the positives from a team standpoint, right? The reason why I think a running back at 30 makes sense, or at the bottom half of a first round, I'm not on the wavelength of I want to spend that 10, or even if we move to 15, I don't think that your best bet is spending that on a running back. I think there's positions you can fill before going to him. Even if it's not Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be there. Zach Charbonnet is going to be there. There's going to be guys, if you really believe in that running back, that you can not only hold for 5 years at a reasonable rate, but you look at the franchise tag in 5-6 years from now, with the diminishing value of running backs in the NFL, what is that tag going to be? It might not be that much. So you can realistically, if he's a great player, you can have him for his first 6 years at pretty darn reasonable rates. And that, in a lot of people's eyes, is the prime of their career. Now, is that fair to a running back? Not necessarily. But do I care? Not really. I'm looking at it from a team perspective. So getting him in the first round lets you keep him throughout his prime, in my opinion, at a good rate. So that would be how I would talk myself into taking a running back in this draft early in the first round. Like I said, maybe bottom half of the first round. So we'll see what happens, but I got us our running back. You guys can stop leaving that in the comments. I'm sure somebody's going to say, I would never take him now because I took him, but that's going to be our number 2 pick at 30. So next we got my guy Deonte Banks out of Michigan. Maryland. I've actually got to see him play because I have a friend that's a really good Maryland, a really big Maryland fan, I should say. And, you know, I'm a Penn State fan, so obviously they're in the same conference. So I've seen him play. I have seen him play. 6'2". He's got the size. He's got the prototypical size. You know, we're going to stay pros. There is a con to his size, but he's got good ball skills, good at tracking the ball. He's got great route recognition. I feel like he knows what they're going to do sometimes before they know what they're supposed to do. He's great in press. He's great up on the line. He will utilize his hands correctly. He will get into any receiver's face. He's not afraid if you're 6'4", if you're 5'11", he's going to treat you the same. He's going to be physical. He's going to be aggressive, especially at the line of scrimmage. He's not afraid to fight down the field either. At the point of catch, he is not afraid to fight bigger targets. So I like this guy. He's got that swag. He's got that, you know, just energy about him. I think that Deontay is a guy that, because there is 20 cornerbacks with a third-round grade or higher, he sometimes gets lost in the shuffle, lost in the sauce. I think this guy can be very, very good. I think a lot of his talents are raw athletic talents, you know, and that does bring into, you know, the cons and everything, but he's a very, very good tackler, very aware. He can be a box guy. He can help you in run support. He's just going to make the plays. That now going into the cons, he's going to give up some plays because he is very aggressive. So sometimes if it is a guy that's just going to beat him on a jump ball, it's going to happen. He's aggressive. He wants to win the battle. He doesn't necessarily want to make you lose. He wants to win the battle. So that aggression can sometimes come back and bite him. His technique does need some refining. I'm not going to sit here and act like he's perfectly there. Obviously, there's a reason why he would go in the third round, where I have him slated at second, I believe. I forget where I took him exactly. But either way, I have him slated in the second round. Size and speed, he's got everything. I think they said that he's slated to run sub 4.5. Obviously, when I go out there, hopefully I get to see him run, and we'll see what happens there. If he runs fast, if he runs in like 4.3s, low 4.4, this kid could go way higher than the second round. So I like him a lot. Like I said, though, his technique definitely needs some refining. I said the aggression. He doesn't have the elite recovery speed. So if he gets beat over the top, he gets a little bit grabby. He's not necessarily the ideal fit for zone coverage. Like I said, he is very good in man, but sometimes he does look lost in zone. And I think that goes with his aggression. I think he wants to be on the man who's going to get the ball. And sometimes that can hurt you, especially in zone assignments, when you have to be on your assignment. You have to be where you're supposed to be, or else that becomes a hole. So that's something he's definitely going to have to work on. He has average arm length. Okay. And now this is something I read. Okay. Because I personally don't think that that's a big deal. Most of the stuff I look at is from the film, but I was reading about him, and they said that he has average arm length, especially for his height at 6'2". I don't know what average is. We'll see what his measurements are when we get to the combine, but that was something that they said as far as his negatives. I like him a lot. I really do. I think that, especially at this point in the draft, he's probably one of the better cornerbacks left. And at this point, Emmanuel Forbes was off the list. Eli Ricks was off the list. I think Tyreek Stevenson was the next one that was after him. But at this point, he's probably the best of the rest. So I like this pick at this spot. You fill a hole. I think Deontay Banks might not be a day one elite starter, but I think that he's somebody that you give him a year with a Darius Slay, with whoever our safety coach is going to be. It's looking like we're going to have a secondary strong background coach, so maybe that helps him. So I like this pick. I think that is somebody that can definitely grow with the Philadelphia Eagles. Next up, and now if you're seeing a little bit of I didn't realize I did this. Okay, I took a couple of players from Clemson, and I didn't realize till afterward that I'm screenshotting. I'm like, wow, I just did that, because it's hard. Sometimes you're doing the mock draft simulator, and you forget who you picked last time, what school they were from. I was just remembering what positions I took. So I did take a couple of Clemson players, this being the second of them. KJ Henry, he's an edge player from Clemson, like I said. Very instinctive, a read and react type player. Excellent hand placement, just vicious with his hands. He'll fight any offensive lineman. He's able to disengage from blockers, again, with those arms. He's got good arm length, which you can see on film, and he's got a good push off. So he has the play strength to disengage from blockers, whether it be with finesse or his play strength, like I said. where was I? He's fast enough to run stop from sideline to sideline, which we'll get into. He's got very good lateral quickness, right? So he's going to be able to be a guy that can disengage from a tackle and make sure that he is on, whether it's a screen, whether it's just a run play to the outside. He's a guy that's definitely going to help you there. But when we go to cons, all right, obviously you get to this part, there are definitely cons. He's not considered fast or twitchy off the edge. So he's not going to necessarily be that guy that is going to win with speed on the edge. He's not Brandon Graham, right? He's not Hassan Reddick even, that wins a lot with their speed. He's not that kind of guy. And going on with that, he's also not a guy that once the play's behind him, he's not going to really chase down many people. If the play's behind him, it's kind of dead for him. He can go sideline to sideline, but once it's, he's not going to chase down. No offside is what it is. He just doesn't have that speed. Look, at the end of the day, he is a work in progress. I will be 100% honest with that. He is a guy that definitely needs to work and refine his skills. His technique could definitely use some refining. Maybe add a little bit of speed in the offseason, do a little something like that. Get a little bit more balanced, be able to get a little bit lower in that dip. Like, there's a lot of things that KJ can definitely work on, but the raw talent is there. The skill set is definitely there. And I think that you look at KJ and you see a guy that 2-3 years down the road can be a realistic, solidified starter in this league, and I truly do believe that. And he kind of offsets what we already have, right? The Eagles have a lot of speed on the outside. You look at a Hassan Reddick, who I mentioned. You look at Josh Sweat. That's a lot of speed that you have coming off the edge. This guy gives you a little bit of power, and he can move on the inside if you need him to. I don't think that that's something he'll consistently do, but he can move to the inside, bring you a little bit of a mismatch when it comes to going against guards or maybe centers for a play or two on a pass rush situation. So I like him. Do I love him? Not really. I'm going to be 100% honest. I think that once you're getting to this point of the draft, you're kind of picking and choosing by traits and projection over production. I really do believe the Eagles should go edge at that 10 spot. And this is me kind of proving that point. But I like him. I do like KJ Henry. I think that he's a really good player and a really good project. I think that he's a canvas, right? He's a blank canvas, and it's a beautiful canvas, right? You can get any paint, and it's going to look really good on this canvas. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to go out there and paint. So I think that he's a good player, but somebody's going to have to paint that canvas. And I was talking mad junk about Tracy Rocker, but prove me wrong, man. So we're going to go on to the last two picks. All right, so with the last two picks, honestly, I think I got a gem here. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. John Gaines, I like him. He can play all over the interior line. He's done it in college. He went to UCLA. He's marked down as a center, but I don't think that's where he's going to play at the next level. But either way, he's lined up at guard, I believe right guard, center, and right tackle. So he's done a little bit of everything on that offensive line, obviously, except for the left side. Hopefully he's not another Andre Dillard that, he can't write left-handed or whatever the heck his problem was. But either way, I don't know why I'm talking junk about our players, but he's got very quick feet. He's a smart player. He can recognize stunts at the line of scrimmage. He recognizes blitz. He's very calm under pressure. He's very, very technically sound, like very, very technically sound. And he's very athletic. He's agile. You'll see him get to the second level. You'll see him be able to move laterally very, very well, which when you're going against some guys on the interior, maybe that doesn't matter as much, but he is able to move laterally. It helped him, especially as a right tackle, but he's going to most likely line up at guard. That's what he mainly did in the NFL. And I think that he'll be very good at right guard. Now his con, because look, it's the 7th round. These guys are going to have cons. He loses a lot to the bull rush. He loses a lot to power in general, especially when they're head up on him. That's something he's definitely going to have to work on. He's definitely going to have to get his play strength up. I read somewhere that they said, and I thought it was very well put, that he has gym strength, he has workout strength, but not necessarily play strength. And that's something you see. It's going to be in the trunk. I need to see him be able to sit down in his stance a little bit better. The power really does worry me. I'm not going to lie. I think that that's something that is hard to really, really get better at. You can get stronger. Like I said, he's strong, but learning how to utilize your body in game situations is something you need a very, very good offensive line coach to kind of help you out with. You guys see what I did there? Yeah, you guys see, because we got a good one, y'all. We got Jeff Stoutland. So I would love to get this guy in with Stoutland, and I would love to see what Stoutland could do to this guy. Like I said, he can play multiple positions, and at worst, I think he's like a Driscoll. At worst, I think he's like a backup. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying Driscoll will be a backup for the rest of his life, but right now, at the worst, he plays the role that Driscoll has played for the past couple years, where he just comes in when needed. So I think that at 7th round, this is a steal. A steal. I realistically do. But he needs to get better with that, you gotta get better. You gotta get better with that play strength. And that play strength, it really causes a lot of things, because you read about him and you'll see that he causes a lot of penalties because he can't set his feet. That comes from getting beat on the bull rush a lot of times when I saw it. So another thing that I saw, and this is something you can definitely teach out of him, is, and this is very, I don't know, I'm being a little bit minute with some of this stuff, but when he sets, right? So when they hike the ball and he's ready to go, his hands seem awkwardly low. And a lot of times I see people just punch right into his chest, which may cause him to lose a lot of these bull rushes. So I'm not Jeff Stoutland, but that's just something I saw, so maybe that has some correlation. You guys let me know what you're thinking. Now, I promise you, this is the last pick, and this is the last Clemson player I could pick. So, maybe give me 3 more rounds, probably would have picked the whole damn team. But I took a tight end because I think that this, and this was also reiterated by Daniel Jeremiah when we did that call, that this tight end class is very good. I think that all the way through the 7th, I'm not going to say Davis Allen is a starter, but we don't need a starter, right? Davis Allen gives you more in the way of passing game than my guy Jack Stahl. I love Jack Stahl. That's my dog. Love him to death, man. I love that his mullet's coming back. Love him. But I think that Davis Allen gives you a little bit more as a pass catcher, has very soft hands. His quarterback rating when targeted was 117, which was awesome. That's awesome. So, I mean, what else do I have here? 6'6". He's got a little bit above average movement, I wrote down. One big thing is he shows the ability to create separation over the middle of the field. That is something when Dallas Goedert is not the main target. That is something we miss. So this is a guy, if we were to go and get Davis Allen, this is a guy that I'm not expecting to be necessarily a Jack Stahl when it comes to blocking, but I think that he gives you a little bit more in the way of actual pass catching. I think that he's somebody that when you expand his route tree, because that's something that I saw as well, he had a very limited route tree throughout his career. You expand his route tree, see what he can do, see how far you can push him. He gives you a little bit more versatility at that at that tight end position, He definitely has to work on some things, man. Like I said, he's just above, a little bit above average at the best with his speed and his athleticism. He's definitely not going to overpower anybody. He has to win with his technique, which his technique is good. That's another thing. His technique is good at the line as a blocker. He has a limited route tree, like I said, and his ball tracking isn't great. So those are things you definitely got to watch out for. But it is what it is. It is what it is. I like taking a flyer on a guy with projection. This is the main thing, especially when you get down to the 4th, to the 3rd, the 5th, 6th round. And even honestly, throughout this draft, you're going to see it happen a lot of projection over production. You're going to see it in the 1st round. There's a lot of talk about Tyree. There's a lot of talk about Lucas Van Ness. These guys are projections over productions. Don't get me wrong, they weren't trash. They had some production, but they are not like these guys that just went out there and had 30 sacks and, oh my God, what are these guys going to be? They are projection. They love the body type. With Tyree, it's the length, the athleticism, the raw set of skills. With Lucas, he is great. He just wasn't a starter. So it's really weird with him. I don't know why he's really slipping, to be honest. Maybe they don't think he can run as a 4 down. I really don't know why he's slipping down draft boards. I think he'll be a top 10, 15 at the worst selection. So it is what it is. We'll see what happens. He was still on the board when I took Brian Bresee. Maybe I should have took him there. You guys let me know. But either way, look, this is the draft that we did. And like I said, I did add a trade. So I'm going to pop the trade up for you right now. We did trade with the Green Bay Packers. That, to me, is probably your best bet to move back. I think that if a quarterback drops, maybe if Aaron Rodgers leaves, they're in the market. Maybe even if not, they're in the market. Now, maybe we get a little bit more than this. What I ended up doing was giving up the 10th pick, which they ended up taking up the wide receiver Quentin Johnston. I don't know if that's realistic. Maybe they do. And I gave up the 94 pick, which they took safety Jordan Battle. And I also gave up the 2024 Minnesota 5th round pick that we have. And in exchange, we moved back to the 15th pick. We also picked up the pick 151. But next year, we get their first round pick. If they don't have Aaron Rodgers, that first pick next year might be a top 5 pick. So I'm cool with kind of overpaying for their first round pick. So you guys let me know what you're thinking about this draft. Just, I know, there's somebody that will definitely never get there. He'll never be there, Joe. Talk all your junk. We're going to get better, man. This is just 3.0. Y'all let me know how y'all feeling. But other than that, man, I appreciate everybody. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Y'all know what it is, man. It is Fly Eagles Fly. And we are out here. Peace!
Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Yeah. Fly Eagles flying on the team. Touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a Bird Gang Nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man Saul Jackson